Hi, I'm Alex Archibald. I've been buying and selling antiques since I was a kid. Over the years, generations of our family have gotten involved in the business, and I'll search just about anywhere I can to find hidden treasures both big and small. I never know what I'll turn up next. It's about exploring new places, seeing new sights, and having fun. And even though sometimes I get over my head, we try and make things a little better along the way. This is Curiosity. Well, good morning and hello to everybody out there. I am off and on kind of a weird adventure today. About, I want to say like 2-3 weeks ago, I was invited to a person's house to look at some estate items. And I did buy some stuff, some artwork, which we really like. Actually, we liked enough we hung in our house, and some collectibles to resell. But when I went into the garage, they had an old car. If anybody knows me from watching, I have a weakness when it comes to old car. What was the car? Well, it's an old MGA, British sports car from the 1950s. Really cool thing. But what's cool about this one is that it was sealed in a crate since 1980. So if you can believe that, for over 4 decades, this thing has been sitting inside of this garage, sealed in a crate. They've been working on getting the crate opened up and getting the car out. I guess the guy that owned the car, he bought it in the 1960s, around 1964, drove it for a while when he moved into the new place. Didn't have use for it, but wanted the space in the garage to store stuff, so he built a wood crate around it and piled a bunch of junk on top of it. So people even forgot that the car was in there for a long time till, you know, the house had to be vacated and emptied for resale. So I ended up buying it. So we're on our way right now to go pick up this car that's been sealed off from the world for 4 decades. Crazy times. So let's go do this. Let's go check the car out. Let's go. Explain to my wife why there's a little project car coming home. So here the car is. They've been working away at getting it uncrated and out of the wall. If you can kind of see along the wall here, that's the remnants of the sides of the crate. So this car was sitting in here in this position for like 4 decades. It's a 1959 MGA, which is kind of a cute car. It has these curious little fake knockoff rim. Those aren't real knockoffs. Normally you knock on that for a center lock wheel, but that gives you the center lock look. It is dusty, it is crusty. The missing parts I'm hoping will all be in here. So I guess we'll find out once we get it home. There it is. First daylight in over 40 years. I'm told 42 years it's been sitting in that garage. I got a first look. Looks like they had a little bit of tin work done on the rockers at one point. It's not terrible though. Definitely have seen worse. There it is, traveling down the road. It's even a good looking car in reverse. I literally just pulled in, and good thing too, because the car is right behind me. It's almost kind of like a weird science experiment to see what 42 years sealed in a crate will do to a car. Once we get it in the garage, or once we get it off the trailer, we'll do a full walk around and kind of an inspection of the vehicle. He's just getting positioned to drop it right now. Now, before you say in the comments, Alex, you still have snow? I'm actually filming this video in early spring. So that's why you're gonna see little bits of snow on my lawn in the background. But I figured this would take me a while to get through, so who knows? This car, unfortunately, I can't ask the fellow why he sealed it in a crate, but he did. Parked it, he bought it in 1964. drove it for a little while, and when he moved into his place in 1980, he parked it. So it's been sitting sealed since 1980. Why? I mean, it's not like it was a mint Porsche 911 or something like that. It's an MG, which is a cool car, but it's not like so cool that you should try and make a time capsule out of it. We pretty much gutted the interior when we moved it because I didn't want anything flying out. So not a whole lot to look at here, except it's fairly solid. The floors in these cars are actually wood. They get screwed onto metal frame sections. So that is actually wooden floors. You might think that's archaic, but that's what they did on the MGTDs, the MGAs like this. They had a wood floor. The British still using wood. How many miles are on this thing? Let's see. It has 60,000 miles. That's a fair bit, actually, for a little sports car like that. This would be that's your lights on and off. Horn is going to be, it's not the center of the steering wheel. You got your lights. Choke, I don't know what that did. That's for your heat. Oh, that's your horn right there. Meep, 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 meep. That little button. And it has the radio blanking plate. So it didn't have a radio, but if it did have a radio, that would have been the speaker grill for the radio. They're fun little cars. Undervalued, in my opinion. When these things are all restored, they're actually a really decent little vehicle. This one is going to need a lot of work. But before I push it inside the garage, I am going to give it a bit of a wash because I don't want to be transporting his years of dust and grime and debris into the garage. So let me get the pressure washer out and we'll wash her down. All right. Before I do any kind of vacuuming or washing, I've learned to grab a little baggie. It should undo just like that. That's how you open the door. You pull the string down. I shouldn't say string. There's like a little cord you pull and the door pops open. I'm going to collect every screw and every washer that's in here because although they might not be in great shape, I might need them and need to know what thread that is. I think those are probably to hold the seats in, which are out of the car right now. So I'm going to collect any loose bits and pieces which might be around on the car, on the floor here. And after I've got all the little bits of trim screws and all this stuff that's lying around picked up, I'm going to vacuum and see. There probably was a mouse nest in the front there. But amongst it are my original wiper blades. You can see there's the wiper arms missing their blades. Those are important. You can actually just put new rubber in there. Mind you, that rubber is still soft. Not that I would use that on a new glass. I'm just, surprisingly, the rubber is still soft. And speaking of rubber being soft, these tires are holding air. BF Goodrich Silvertown. These probably are from the 1960s, these tires. And it's still round and holding air. That's super crazy. I'm getting ready to vacuum the inside of the car, and I have to tell you, the smell of the car, it's not like a bad smell. It smells like an old tractor, or if you've ever been on a farm and gone into like one of the outbuildings that has machinery, the smell of old grease and oil and dust and age, like your grandpa's garage or something. That's what this car smells like. It's nostalgic in a weird kind of way, but I'm going to try and make it less nostalgic and at least vacuum up some of the grossness that's in here and try and make it a little nicer for when I'm working on it later. There, with the dust and spare screws and mouse nest removed, I can actually give this a wash down and get rid of a lot of the dust, but I'm gonna prop the hood open because I may as well do the engine bay area as well while I'm at it. Well, looking at the engine, there's a alarming, I wouldn't say alarming, there's definitely a lot of sweating around the top of the engine here, which tells me that the valve cover seal is probably no good, and he was probably having some issues with oil loss, as there's oil everywhere on the underside of the hood. All over everything is caked in oil. And for that to happen, it's got to be seeping out and being blown back from the fan all over everything. Wonder if there's any, could you imagine after 40 years if there was still coolant in here? Nope. It looks like it's actually crystallized, whatever was there. Well, I'm going to spray this all down and hose it off because I don't want to be working on a oily, gross engine bay, as you can imagine. So off to get the pressure washer. Okay, the degreaser I'm going to use is actually just spray nine. Stuff works like a darn. I don't know, I wish I was sponsored by them. Then maybe they'd give me some free spray nine. But this stuff works really good on getting rid of grease. It's a disinfectant as well. Not that that's going to do too much for me under the engine bay here. But if you're cleaning your bathrooms and stuff, it's actually a pretty good product for all sorts of things. But we're going to give a nice liberal amount of this spray nine on every little surface that's greasy, just to give it a chance to soak in. Then I'll grab the pressure washer and we'll see. I bet this fender well turns out real nice. What do you think? Let's give it a go. Let's see what a little hot water through a pressure washer and some spray nine will do to this thing. Here we go. First rinse, and a lot of the grossness is off. That engine bay is looking much better, but I'm going to give it another douse of the spray nine, the degreaser. It actually did a pretty good job, but there's still remnants of it all along the inside there. I mean, it was levels and layers of grease, but you can see majority of it is off now. And big improvement just having a clean engine bay, but also make it much nicer to work on when I eventually tear into that hood. Well, that's a good start. I can start to see the colors of things once were. The red, the valve cover would have been red. There's little remnants of paint left on it. I'm gonna let that dry off. And while I'm letting that dry off, let's have a look inside the trunk. If I recall, yeah, there it is right there. There's a little, stuck. I might have to, yeah, I can't seem to get that open. I'm gonna see if I can find a way to pop that trunk open. Well, with a little leverage, I was able to get the trunk to release, and in the back we have a very dusty spare tire. Okay. I was hoping that would have been full of all kinds of cool parts, or maybe bars of gold, but spare tire is okay too. You know what? So as I'm kind of washing out the trunk, and I was really hoping I'd find the, there's a crank. Well, and the tools would have been nice, but there's a big long crank. And what the crank does, you take it, it's a big metal rod, and just like an old Model T, you stick it through the bumper right there, and it connects to the engine. And you can actually, this is a car that if you had the crank, you could hand crank this thing like a 1920s car. The reason why I was hoping that was in there is I thought, well, maybe if I got the crank, I could try and turn this thing over and make sure the engine's not stuck or seized. either way, I'm going to have to put some penetrating oil down the pistons and let that soak for a little while before I do anything, but still would be nice to have. Incidentally, this little, what looks like a pocket there, that's where the spare tire is supposed to go. I think, yeah, the spare tire, I think, goes into that. That's why it's round. And you just pop it out through the, you pop your seat down. Kind of futile device, but so be it. That's what it's like. You can see the clip right there. That's where the jack, or the, oh, that might have been where the crank went. Weird car. But these are also center locks. I thought that they were faux center locks, which means it has the center that undoes. But you can see the spare tire, well, it still has that outer piece mounted on. So that is more of a racing style rim, and not one I've had on an MG before. Normally, if it's got center locks, it has wire wheels. These knockoffs are more in line with what you'd put on a sort of a race car. Cool thing though. And it's looking a little bit better. Not miles better, but a little better. Well, after pushing the car in and washing all the grossness off my driveway, it's in the garage. Back in a garage. You saw daylight for the first time in 40 years, and now you're back in a garage. It must just be desperately wanting back out again. I was thinking that some of these spare parts, like the mirrors that go on the hood, or on the fender, not on the hood, fender mount mirrors, the windscreen I know I have, but maybe the crank and some of the other parts that I don't see here are in the back of my truck, because I forgot in the big rush to get out of there, using the tractor here to move the car out of the way, that I have all this in the back of my vehicle. So we've got the tonneau cover right there, convertible top and frame, seat bottoms, seat frames. So I do have a lot of parts, and there might be stuff in that bucket right there. That's what I'm looking for. I have to say, the one thing, if you ever want to store leather seats for 42 years, put them in a crate in your garage, because this leather is actually still soft. It's not cracked or torn or moldy. It's perfectly fine. In fact, I'm going to grab some leather conditioner and see how that comes out. I have no idea what brand this is. UV3, never used it before. Found this while I was clearing out a house, but it's the first dose I'm putting on this thing in a lot of years. So we're putting lots on. So let's smear that on real good. Let it soak in, and it will soak in, making the leather nice and soft. Let's just let that soak in, and you can see the color coming back already. Not too bad at all. I did soak the all the crevices here with lots of that leather conditioner, because that's where these pleats are. There's a lot of stress and strain from sitting and moving, so we want that to be nice and flexible. But that's not bad. It's a nice patina. It's got more patina than a Wes Anderson movie. I think that's going to look just fine back in the car. That said, the car itself needs a lot of work before I consider seats, but at least I don't have to do seats, right? That's one thing. Incidentally, I should say that I'm the one that brought the plastic bin and moved these cardboard boxes into it. Would have been nice if a bin came with it, but no. Trying to get a sense of what the guy was working on before it got parked. Looks like he was doing brakes. Some nuts and bolts in the can. More brake stuff. Let's see, brake. Removed retainer clip. Took off line. Remove line holding bracket by the two nuts washers. Remove large reverse bolt. So yeah, he was doing brakes on it. So it must have been, you would think it was running. You're not going to do brakes on something that doesn't need to stop, right? So did it just need brakes when he parked it? Let's see. Oh, I think I see something. I think I see the missing mirrors. There they are. These are the mirrors that go on the fenders. There's the air cleaners. I think like everything is here. Other than that crank, I don't see the crank in here. What's in the bag? Where's the bag from? Love Seth's All Season. For all seasons. We've got Some old gaskets and spark plugs, so maybe he just changed the spark plugs out. I might find this is a running car, if I'm lucky. Battery cables, fender cover, it looks like, the bottom. Or is that a, actually that looks like a tonneau. Maybe I can get it out. Okay. That looks like a, oh, this is a half tonneau. So it just covers the, sort of the convertible top area. All right. Well, I think I've got pretty much all the parts I need. It's a matter of piecing things back together. This seat was dismantled, but it's not broken. It's just missing the bolts that go through here. And if I don't find them in a coffee can in one of these boxes, I might be, probably will find them in this coffee can, in fact. This looks like a likely coffee can full of nuts and bolts. I basically just need to find bolts to go through there. I have to size it up to the other seat to see, but try and piece the seat back together at least. Well, I couldn't find what was the exact original bolt, but I did have bolts on hand in my handy dandy nut and bolt bin that were the appropriate size. I get those threaded on there, and we'll have another seat that's all together very soon. There we go. I have another assembled seat, and I've put some more leather conditioner on here, put a little bit more, and just really put it on thick so it has a chance to soak in to that dry, I shouldn't say, it's not super dry. Oddly, it's not super dry, but it is dry-ish. But we're gonna lay it on nice and thick so it can soak in. So if you're saying, why does it look like you're putting so much on? That's intentional, because this will just disappear. Like I put that much on the back and it's already gone. And looking shinier and healthier. So you basically just keep doing this. It's like hand lotion for your leather seats. You want it to just take it all in and soften up and come back to life. I thought I'd fit the tonneau cover. And yeah, not only has it shrunk a little bit, but it has a couple tears, unfortunately. But the idea was, you can imagine the windshield on here, that when you're driving along, you can unzip just the driver's side, tuck that behind you, and you have smooth sailing with no resistance here. In fact, some of my fondest memories are driving an MG like this with the tonneau cover, and you've got your little cubby area there you could put stuff. And when you get out, if it looks like it's going to rain while you're indoors, you don't have to put the whole top up. You just put your tonneau on, and it covers off the whole interior just like that. Really cool things. And really handy things. I'll probably keep that on there just to keep the, well, I was gonna say keep the dust out of the inside while I'm working. I don't need to worry about that right now because there isn't really an inside to worry about. But once I start getting carpet laid in and making the interior look a little bit better, I will care about keeping it dust free. So handy thing to use, even just for the time being. I have a photocopy of this, which is in fact the original receipt for buying the car. 1964, November 14th, 1959 MG convertible, and put a deposit down of $95 with $800 remaining. So just under $900 for that car. And sold as is, where is. Just like I bought it, as is, where is. Oh, I just have the windshield kind of propped in place right now. I'm looking for the screws for it so I can at least get that attached and get it out of the way, because if I have it lying on the ground, it's gonna get broken. But it is looking more like a car though. Lucky for me, this old strawberry jam can had the screws that hold the windshield on. So I'm just putting them all back where they belong. I've got to put the support bracket screws on too. Just, well, just because I'll know where they are. And I'm not ready to do the windshield on this yet, but having it on where it belongs and out of the way will keep it safe from getting the frame dent or getting glass all over my garage. But thankfully, everything I needed was in that one can. I did forget to mention one other thing. One thing that's unusual about these cars, I don't know which side I have. is that you don't have roll-up windows like a normal car. If you want windows, you got to install your windows. And these would go right in that slot right there and get clamped onto that little clamp down there. And that's going to give you your sliding windows. Now, these are actually plexiglass, perspex. And yeah, if you don't want to have windows, you got to undo all this stuff, take it all off, and it just tucks in behind the seat. So it's like a do-it-yourself, build your own car as you go. Okay, well, with the windscreen back on and sturdy and in place, it's out of the way. And it kind of looks a little bit more like a little sports car again. Good thing they have their AAA, or in Canada it's CAA, because this car probably is going to need it. Actually, that's how I got the car home, was my AAA membership. Now would be a good time for me, now that the engine's not so filthy and dirty, to get the spark plugs out. We'll inspect the plugs and we'll throw some penetrating oil down in the cylinders. And I was thinking, without that crank on the front, the other thing I can do is I can put the car into gear, like put it into third, and rock it back and forth only after the oil's been sitting in there for a while, and see if it goes bump, 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 if the fan turns, or if it's jammed up. Either way, we'll try and see if we can get this engine so it's turning. Well, the one nice thing about this having been soaked in oil for 40 years, I don't have to worry about anything being seized. All these bolts are going to come off easy peasy. I spoke too soon. That is loose. You don't want to break a spark plug off in your block. That becomes a real problem. Done it once, and it was not fun getting it out, but I got it out, and I was able to get new plugs back in, and everything was fine. But if that thing gets broken off, we'll run into some real issues. Let's see what kind of shape this plug is in. Please don't be rusty. Please don't be rusty on the inside. Oh, it's actually good. Well, if he had just recently put plugs in, it looks like it was running for a little bit with the new plugs in it. That's just a little bit of regular kind of buildup on there. Work that washer back down again later. That looks okay though. Well, nothing really alarming from the spark plug perspective. Looks pretty normal. Your regular sort of carbon on there, but nothing terrible. So I'm going to shoot some penetrating oil down into the cylinders. We'll let that soak for probably a day or two. Let it get in there and get any oxidization off of the rings. And I am going to go get myself some new spark plugs, because hopefully by the end of this video, I will attempt to start this thing. I don't want to run it. I'm going to have to disconnect the fuel line, because I certainly don't want to be pumping whatever's in the gas tank into the engine. But I do want to see if it'll at least fire over. That'll be a great start to getting this thing going again. I'm on my way now to go and get spark plugs for the car, in anticipation that maybe, just maybe, I can make it run. I kind of see myself a little bit in the car, kind of identify with it. It's a worn out sports car, once desirable, now dilapidated, only desired by the deranged and unstable and eccentric. I love you, sweetie. But there's still hope for it. It's not done yet. And even though its back might be broken like my own, I think it can still be brought back to life. Let's get some plugs. Let's see if I can get the engine to turn over, and see if we can make this car one step closer to, well, at least being more like a car again. I wouldn't say roadworthy, but at least let it do something. Anything. Yeah, I grabbed a few supplies, spark plugs, some engine paint. May as well dress it up a little bit in there. Incidentally, these spark plugs also are for a lawnmower, because apparently my car takes lawnmower size spark plugs. Anyway, back to the house. We'll let that oil sit for a little bit, and then we'll get the new plugs in. Well, I'd say that's just about enough for day one. We got the engine bay cleaned out, we got the interior washed out, the trunk washed out, and luckily no holes, which is always a good sign. No rust holes. So it seems to be generally a solid car, other than having a little bit of rust in the rocker area, which is pretty normal. Got the seats put back together, which are over there, hidden. And now I've got the oil in the cylinders, and very soon, hopefully next episode, I can actually try and fire this thing up. So make sure to subscribe to our channel, Curiosity Inc., if you haven't done that, to watch part 2, I don't know, possibly part 3 of me working on this thing, this time capsule MGA. It is a really cool car, and it will have, well, it already does have a lot of potential. It just needs a little bit of love. It hasn't been touched in 42 years or so. So it's about time that it got a little TLC. But guys, thanks again for watching today's episode. Again, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I hope you like these sort of episodes. I'm going to continue on working on this car, and we'll post future videos of what happens with it. And we are going to try and start it, and I will try and get the interior put back together and such. So stay tuned for those. Guys, I'm off for now, but I appreciate you watching. And as always, bye for now.